Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Palm, and it's such a pleasure to be here today on the Minds Journal. Today, we're going to be talking about death and the afterlife, which is the topic of my new book. But I'd like to answer your questions here live, any questions that you have for me about death and the afterlife. So, my book is actually geared towards helping people understand what the process of death is, what a person, your loved ones, are going through as they're nearing death, what their signs are that they're getting ready to leave the earth from their physical body, how you can be sure that they're still with you in spirit, where they're going, what their heaven looks like, and what you can do to help them transition peacefully. It also will teach you how to see spirits and how to cross over ghosts if that's something that you would like to learn. So I teach people how to do afterlife communication and how to really reassure them that proof of the afterlife is real. So I look forward to answering all of your questions here today and invite you to please post them in the chat for us so that I can be sure to answer what questions you have. I'd like to start today by talking to you about near-death awareness. One of the questions that I did receive earlier was, how do you know that death is near? And that's what we call near-death awareness. Now, there's many ways that one can tell if death is approaching them. And what I call that is death doors. Your soul, everyone's soul, selected many different death doors before incarnating, before coming into the physical world. Now, a death door is something that you can select. It's always free will. It is not forced upon you. You have different selections. And what I have seen is that you can select which one you want to. So you may get near to a death door, you may decide to stay, and that would be more of an initiation. You may notice that if you stay and live past a certain death door, then many aspects of your life change because you will have a new perspective or possibly a new life path or purpose after passing up that first death door. And then as you approach a second, the same kind of thing can happen. Now, a death door would be, maybe it's an illness, maybe it's a car accident. It could be any number of things that you actually live through. These would be the near misses, the miraculous saves, or perhaps you do actually get very sick or very injured and have a long recovery time. And during this process, your soul is recalibrating to keep you moving forward to the next death door. So this again is by choice. If you had chosen or selected to die at that time and to pass and go through the death door, then your soul would have moved on in the spirit world and you would have completed your lessons. So this is always an opportunity when we decide to stay, to continue our growth, to continue learning as a soul here on the earth, and how we impact others. That's really important. Many people stay because of the impact that they have on the collective, and especially their family and friends, but also on the collective. So we're all very intertwined in that. So I have seen many people, choosing like to pass up certain death doors and then selecting one later on. So we do select the actual timing of our death, which I talk about in the book. We talk about the timing and the death doors, what that may look like when somebody finally selects to go through a death door. Now, I've worked with people in the spirit world, those that have crossed over that have told me that they have had different options. And one might be a disease, and one might be a shooting or something else that occurs randomly that's very tragic. But the soul has told me that it was their time to go. And it didn't matter specifically which way they opted to go, but there are certain different experiences that come in around certain deaths that may either be part of the collective if they're deciding to go with others, or to somehow shift or benefit their living loved ones in a different way. And I know that can sound crazy to say, how can death benefit anybody? But death is part of life. And when we move into this world, we come in with certain agendas and certain things we want to learn and certain things we want to teach and certain things we want to experience. So the more we are intertwined with others, we are always part of the fabric of their life as well. And our life and our death impacts everybody else that we're connected to. So even though there are things that go on that are tragic and loss is very difficult to move through, I find that the quickest way through that is to understand that the afterlife is real and that our loved ones really do still exist. And they want us to heal. They want us to heal our grief. They want us to live every moment of life, and they will see us again. So I can guarantee you that. But when it comes to near death, sometimes people have an uncanny sense that it's coming close. And whether or not they select that death door, they have that option. This is something that is unconscious. It is not conscious. Most people don't walk around knowing that they're going to die, but on a deep level, on a soul level, they may sense that it's coming near. If somebody is sensing it, they will usually make the rounds. And what I mean by that is they may suddenly take a big trip. They may go and see all their friends. They may check in with people who have been very meaningful to them during their lifetime. And after the fact, if they do decide to go through that death door and pass, everyone will usually get together and talk and say, wow, that makes sense now. I haven't seen them in 10 years. And suddenly they stopped by the other day, or suddenly they called and we had the most meaningful conversation. And you'll find that it happened to not just one, not just two, but multiple people. That's making the rounds. That's when a soul really knows that they are going to go through the death door. The other way that you can tell if somebody's nearing a death door is through dreams or premonitions. Now, if you're an empath or an intuitive person, you may actually sense that yourself. You may be sensing the timing of death because, like I said, it's marked, it's in your chart already. And this is something that you chose, not just chose, you created it. Okay. So when you start to get close to those points, sensitive people around you, intuitive people can pick up on that. And they may receive premonitions or dreams about an impending event of a death. What I like to tell people, it doesn't matter if you're a medium, a healer, an intuitive, or someone that just suddenly gets a premonition or a dream of death, you're really not intended to change it. You're just maybe meant to hold space, to have the awareness. I always say, then you know you can be there for family and friends. And you can always send your prayers or your energy, your love, anything you can to help the loved one transition better. Um, but you're not supposed to change it just because you know it's happening. It's just a little tip that it's coming up and that they have selected it. So if you're a sensitive person and you're experiencing that, just know that that's all you're supposed to do with it. You don't have to change events or make phone calls or stress out or worry about it. So there's kind of an ease about that, an ease and understanding that people have selected a certain timing to go and that we're not supposed to intervene or interfere. So send your prayers and hold space for the family. You can maybe, start thinking about clearing up your schedule so you can be there to help as the family's moving through funerals and different events through estates and all the things that happen after a loved one passes. Um, let's see. Okay, so I think that that's good. Many people do sense something coming up, and obviously sometimes it's very sudden. I talk about that in my book. I talk about, a slow death, and then I talk about sudden death and suicide and how those are different and how it impacts the living loved ones and some different processes that can help you. Of course, whenever I'm talking about the afterlife and death, I talk about grief and the grief process and the five normal stages of grief that most people are all familiar with. But I always throw in the last one, which is the sixth one, and that is the spirit visit phase. The spirit visit phase is what really brings in proof of the afterlife. And I see that as soon as you reestablish contact with your loved one on the other side, your heart can really begin to heal because you know they're still with you. I find that the severing of our connection with our loved one is what really brings in the grief and feels final and feels isolating. and can keep a person in shock, trauma, and in a heavy state of grief. But once you turn the corner and start to accept that your loved one is with you and you know what to look for in signs and symbols, and perhaps through spirit communication, then you can actually really know in your heart that you're still connected with your loved one, that they can still help you from heaven, that they do see it, they know what's going on in your life, they can see it from the afterlife, and they can actually help you with things if you call them into your life to assist you. They can, be very instrumental in helping to guide you, helping correct your timing with things, whether it's a new job you're looking for, the love of your life, or any other things that you need their assistance with. After they pass, they want to assist their loved ones as much as they can. So the quicker somebody can heal the heaviness of their grief and really embrace their connection with their loved one in the afterlife, the more help and assistance they can have, the more rapport you can build with them, a better relationship can be established as soon as you get into that space, and you'll begin to start living and enjoying your life again and knowing you're connected with your loved one in heaven. So the second question I have is it possible to communicate with your loved ones after death? Absolutely. Absolutely. I did paranormal work for over 19 years and I loved it because it taught us how to use devices to capture proof of the afterlife. And through this, I did many proof of the afterlife presentations where I would demonstrate by showing all the EVPs, which are electronic voice phenomena. That's when you can speak to a spirit and actually record them speaking back to you. There are other devices like the Ovilus, which is a word generator. And so when energy is sent to it, a word is spit out in a voice. And so it's not the actual spirit's voice like a recorder would be, but it is generated and selected by the loved one in spirit. And so you can have a dialogue, you can have a conversation this way as well. Um, and then, of course, there's the spirit photos, orbs, all the way to from orbs to apparitions. And those are considered proof of the afterlife. For many people, if you're sensitive, if you're a medium and empath, you may actually experience physical touch. You may be aware that your loved one's with you by touching you or touching your arm or coming to you in many different ways. But proof of the afterlife would be more in like the devices, the scientific evidence, the evidential proof. And that's an area I'm strong in because I really wanted to explore the afterlife and really help people to understand it. So I spent a lot of time in that area in the field, collecting evidence and then sharing that evidence to help educate others. So, gosh, when people say, is the afterlife real? Yes, absolutely, 100% yes. And it does not matter what religion you are. Everyone goes to the other side and has a similar journey, no matter what their background was. Um, when you want to communicate with your loved one, I do have some techniques that you can use in my book, Death and the Afterlife. There are techniques in here. I share some divining tools that you can use, such as the Ouija board or spirit board, pendulums. There's different devices that anybody can use to help them connect with the spirit world. I also share in there my mediumship scrying technique, which helps people to establish their spiritual vision so that they can actually learn to see their own loved ones in the spirit world. So, what it does is it helps to drop the veil so that the average person can gain access to the frequencies of their loved ones in the afterlife. So, that's in the book too. Um, After death communication is called ADC, after death communication. And there are many forms of after death communication that could be twilight visits, apparitions, touch, sense. You could smell their cologne or their cigars. You could hear their name. You could see an apparition or dream of them and have communication this way. There are many, many forms of ADC. And I think I share the top 12 in my book. that you can actually kind of go through and anticipate how to establish and recognize contact with your loved one on the other side. Um, that also includes signs and symbols. And I have included some signs and symbols, whether they be from animals, which animals are huge deliverers of signs and symbols from the afterlife. So many times when a specific animal crosses your path and you associate that animal with your loved one who passed, that is your loved one sending the animal. And that is a definite confirmation that they're there visiting you. There's also number signs, there's feathers, there are pennies from heaven. There's many, many signs and symbols that you may get from your loved one to reassure you and let you know that they're aware of you, they feel you, they hear your prayers, they know you're sad, they know you're in grief, they know that you miss them and love them, and they're sending you these signs to establish that contact and to bring comfort to you. And they're basically saying, I'm right here, I'm still right here. So the more you actually reach out to establish a link, a connection to them in the afterlife, that's where your grief will really shift, and you maintain that contact with them and be able to move forward with your life knowing that everything really was in divine timing and that there's a purpose and a reason for the timing of our loved ones passing, and there'll be a timing for ours too. Okay, the third question I have is the afterlife possible? Yes, I think I've already answered that one. Okay, again, that's going to be EVPs, electronic voice recordings. And if you're doing that, I highly recommend just a real simple digital recorder. You can also use one on your iPhone or your other devices. Anything that records will have the capacity to pick up spirit voices. You sometimes you have to listen to them very carefully. You may want to put on some earphones. There's some good software online that can help you really like clean up a recording if there's a lot of background noise. Audacity is one of them. It's usually a free download, but that you can upload your recordings to that and clean it up if you need to. But a Class A EVP is going to be where you just turn the recorder on, ask if they're with you, and you're going to actually hear a voice recorded. And what I love about EVPs is that we don't hear them with our ears. We hear them only in the recording because it's a specific frequency that we can't really hear with our ear, just like a dog whistle. So while we're sitting there talking to them and not hearing them, our devices may be recording them the whole time. So you always want to play that back and listen to see if you're recording their voices. There are other devices that you could actually hear them on immediately. My other favorite device, I can't forget this one, is the Spirit Box, the SB7 Spirit Box. That's my number one go-to. I love that device. It simply scans radio stations very, very quickly. And when you're linking with a loved one in spirit, you'll be able to have a conversation with them and you'll hear their tone. You'll get the correct answers to the questions you ask, and you'll know that it's your loved one because it will be very relevant and personal. I've had so much success with the SB7 Spirit Box. And that's not a recording device. So that would be a live, real time dialogue or conversation. The other way, let's see, afterlife, proof of the afterlife would be apports, gifts from the spirit world, where suddenly something physical in your environment is given to you. That could be a gift of jewelry. It could be a coin. Pennies from heaven are considered apports. So the spirit world can move things, physical things, from the spirit world into the physical world. And they often do this just to let us know, again, that they're around. And that's many of the signs and symbols that we're getting are classified as apports. Okay, so the fourth question that I have here is okay, is it true that people's lives can change after near-death experiences? Absolutely. So, because like I said, when we enter the space and time of one of our selected death doors and we choose to stay, there will be a change in heart or a change in mind or a change of life scenario because we've decided to stay. And so it's almost like getting a second chance. You don't actually have to die and see heaven in order to have this shift of perspective. However, if you do die and see heaven and really have a near death experience and get, resuscitated and you come back, you'll have had a huge epiphany because you've touched heaven. You've seen the afterlife. You have you've released the physical problems, concerns, and dramas of the physical to expand into the afterlife for a moment and then come back. That is profound, and that will always shape shift somebody's perspective on the way they're living and what life is about and what it means to them. So whether it's a real, near death experience where they die and come back, or even passing a death door can be a little bit more subtle form of having these near death experiences, where you will have a shift in the way that you're living your life, a shift in your heart, and your life path and purpose can change at those times. Um, Part of the reason for that is because if you're going through those experiences, you're going to have an increase of spiritual protection. You may see angels. You may feel the hand of God, no matter what religion you are, creator, source, whatever it is, but there's an intelligence, a God, a source energy that when you're in the presence of, it's such a loving, high vibration. Once you have experienced that, it clears away all the confusion that we humans normally are living with. So having that kind of very, very loving high vibration can immediately change your life and the way you behave in it. You also become aware that you have a huge spirit team, angels, loved ones in heaven, spirit guides. You'll see them all in these moments. If you're doing just passing a near death or death door, excuse me, if you're passing a death door, you may actually sense these things, or you may have an increase of spiritual aid and assistance around you at those times to guide you to stay, to support you and encourage you to stay. Um, but either which way, you're going to realize that the afterlife is so large. The spirit world is incredibly huge and really focused on your benefit, really here to help you complete what you want to complete, learn what you want to learn, share your knowledge, help other people, all of it. You are being supported, even if it appears that you're on your own physically. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. I had to learn that the hard way. I went through many times in my life when I felt completely alone, and I would look up and be like, okay, God, are you serious? Why do I always have to do this alone? And then I became more and more aware I was never alone, even when it looked like I was, even when it felt like I was. Every time I went through that, I became more and more aware of the enormous spiritual support that I had. And that alone really helped me in my life and really shifted my perspective on things that I was living through and experiencing, because I no longer felt that I had to carry everything on my own or do it all on my own. I knew that there was an invisible force field behind me there to support and love me as I made my own choices. So if you're somebody that has experienced that, or maybe you're experiencing that now, especially if you're in grief or losing a loved one, please know that you are being supported by this enormous spiritual support team. All your spirit guides, all your loved ones in heaven, your angels, all of it. They are there with you. But you may have to ask them to intervene. Angels cannot step in for you unless they're invited. So if you're feeling any of those feelings, if you're in grief or you're sad or lonely, ask the angels to start participating in your life, and you ask them every day. In fact, it's the best thing to wake up in the morning with a meditation, asking them to come into your life. And you can ask them for simple things. Angels, please clear the path on my way to work. Please clear the traffic or keep me safe, keep my children safe. Angels, I'd love you to come in and help me improve my health, guide me to the best food to eat, help me know what steps to take in my career field, make it relevant, or help me connect with the right people. You can ask them anything. They are here to aid you. They're the go-betweens between you and God, and they're here to serve you. So ask them, invite them, and let them step in to help you. In the same way, you can ask your loved ones who have passed because they are totally committed to helping you in whatever way they can. So it's totally okay to ask your loved ones to come in and help you with that too. Okay, so I think we're at a good space. Yeah, let's see what kind of questions you have. I'd love to answer any questions. Oh, hi there. What happened if someone commit a traumatic suicide? Thank you for asking that. Yes. So I have a lot of experience working with suicide, and we have been in a time frame where so many suicides have been occurring the past few years. It's been dramatically increased worldwide. Suicide deaths are a little bit different because when one loses their hope and one loses their connection, this is usually what causes them to want to commit suicide and to leave. So suicide is a broken contract. You're breaking their own contract that they made between themselves and their God when they came in. Okay. So that is not one of the death doors. When somebody does commit suicide, it's really important for somebody in the family to help them. Loved one, a family member, friend, anybody, and to do a spiritual healing for them, to make sure that they get to the right place, to move their spirit into what we call heaven, and just to make sure that they're not stuck in those lower dimensions where they're feeling cut off from the light. I do share that technique in my book so that if you have loved ones that have committed suicide, or you question if they have crossed over, if you have any concerns at all, you really should get this. The technique will lead you step by step in how to do this. It's very important for people to learn how to do this for their loved ones. I have recovered and retrieved many souls that have died in suicide. I've crossed over so many of them, and they have shown me what it looks like where they are. And um, it's best just to learn how to do this technique and help them cross over immediately. Okay. So yeah, everyone, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a medium. You don't have to have special gifts. Every human can use their own divine connection. I guide you through. It's a simple process. I help you to raise your vibration, get your connection, and then to be in a space where you can connect with your loved one and cross them over, ensure that they're in heaven. And then you'll know what signs to look for immediately for confirmation that they have crossed over, that they're happy and healed and whole on the other side, because they'll start sending you signs and symbols immediately to reassure you and let you know that they made it. That's the biggest takeaway is if you guys can do this for your loved ones or your friends and family, if they had loved ones that committed suicide, it's really, really important that we do this collectively, that everyone learns how to do this so that we can really help administer healing where it needs to be and help these families relieve their guilt and their pain from not being able to prevent the death. If they can help on the other side of it and reestablish contact through healing their loved one's spirit, that can renew their life force and their will to live and have a wonderful life again. That can restore them. So, yeah, that's really, really important, you guys. Again, if that's of interest to you, the technique will be in this book to learn how to cross over your loved ones. Okay. Okay. Do we have any more questions? Okay. Good day, Diana. Can a spirit miss you when they have ascended? Oh, sure. Yeah. So, and what I would like to say about that is that they don't really miss us because they're with us. So we miss them because what we're missing is our perception that they're still with us. It doesn't seem like they are, and we long to be connected with them. We feel that their energy has moved away from us when really it's still with us. It's just at a higher frequency that makes it seem like we're not able to connect. Okay. But your loved ones in heaven don't really miss you because they're still with you. So that's why when they come around to comfort us when we're grieving, they often come from the back and just hold us and they stand by us and they're sending us so much love and they know we need to go through our own process. They know, they honor that. They know we need to grieve because it's part of us releasing our connection to them in the physical experience until we come together in the afterlife. So this part of the journey is done where we're both physical, but it still continues because when you're physical and they're in spirit, you're still connected. You're still engaged in each other's lives. It is still very important bond. And then when you pass, you'll be in the afterlife together. Okay. So there's no severing of ties. So they simply can't miss us. They're still here. They're still connected to us. Okay. Are there any other? Oh, there we go. Hi, Kurt. What actually happens immediately after your death? I've read about the afterlife a bit, but it isn't real. Absolutely. We have approximately 2 weeks after the moment of death that our soul can choose to go into heaven. And it's always a choice. There's not one big grandfather God up there that's saying, you're in, you're out, you're going to heaven, you're going to hell. That's not the way it is. Our soul reviews the way that we live our life. Our soul chooses to move into the light, to go to the next level. Or it can also choose to stay earthbound. And if it does not go into the light, does not ascend and go into heaven, it stays earthbound. And that's what we know as the ghosts and the waywards and the lost souls and the people that are still stuck here. And those are the ones that we can cross over with the technique that I told you about in this book, the crossing over technique. So we have 2 weeks approximately to go. Most of us will attend our own funerals. Most of us will visit all of our loved ones. And the wonderful thing is, immediately after death, when we're completely in spirit, we can be with all of our loved ones simultaneously. So it doesn't matter if they're in different countries, we can connect to all of them and send them dream visits. We can hug them. We can try to move things in their house because there's always this kind of urgency right at the time of death. Everyone's sad, they're in shock, they're missing their loved one. And the one that died wants to rush to everybody that they love to say, hey, I'm here, you guys. I'm still here. I'm still connected. So there's an urgency almost at the time of death for the one that passed to go and connect with all of their family and friends, just to let them know, hey, I'm with you. I'm with you. We're still connected. So that's what that's about. There's about a 2-week window, and then they go into heaven. And they can immediately, after they've been to the light, they maintain all of their spiritual gifts so they can continue to connect with you. They can continue to connect with all of their loved ones simultaneously. They can move things. They can help you. Like I said, you can call upon them. They often assign themselves as a spirit guardian to you, which then they are really, really assigned to you to really help you in your life. And then the ones that do not cross over, they actually lose their spiritual capacity. They cannot connect with all their loved ones simultaneously. Those are the ones that become ghosts or trapped lost souls, and they stay stuck and bound to the location that they're at. And so that's another reason we really, really want to cross over all the spirits that have committed suicide, died tragically, or did not cross over for a number of different reasons. Okay. Hi there. Okay, what about animals that passed on? Ah, thank you. I knew I would have some animal lovers pop in here. Um, I always attract animal lovers because I'm an animal lover. I do talk about pet heaven in the book too. I had to include that because there are so many people that love their pets as family members, and they should be respected that way. So often when somebody loses a pet, they don't get any love and support from their family and friends because they think they'll say things like, oh, it's just an animal, it's just a pet. And it's like, no, it's a family member. When you take somebody into your home and love them and care for them, they're your family. And they provide so much love and comfort back to us. So they must be recognized. Now, pets will come to you. I actually love this part. So many times when I'm working with people, I will see their loved ones and I will see their animals. And often the first animal I see is not the one that they set up a session with me for. I've had it happen where somebody lost a little tiny dog, and they're so upset and heartbroken because it was their soulmate companion. And as I'm working with them, I'll see a larger dog, and I talk about this in the book where the larger dog is telling me, I was the first one, and it's just running around really happy. And then when I ask my client, they're like, well, I don't know. And they're thinking and thinking. They're like, oh my gosh, that's from my childhood, you know? Yeah. So the first one, the first pet they ever had and lost. Our pets always stay with us. So, yes, they go to pet heaven. Pets do not get stuck as ghosts because they don't have the same issues that humans have. Humans often stay because of the humanly drama, unhealed issues, unresolved things, and that can prevent them from moving into the light. But all our animals, our pets, they go immediately into the light. Animals in the wild don't really need to go through this process, but once an animal has been incorporated into a family and they've been loved and there's been a human animal bond, then these animals evolve a little bit differently than the collective animals in the wild. And so these animals, they go to a special place in heaven and where they wait for you, and you will see them again. You will see all your pets again. And animals can give you afterlife signs. I love that part. I mean, they often come to you and move things around. They'll move their toys. They'll send you a scent. You might smell their cat food, their dog food, or their bad breath, dog breath. Yeah, they will come to you. They lick you. They snuggle with you in bed. Your pets stay with you as well. So there's no time delay. Immediately, if you're in the position where you have to euthanize your animal, they may be home before you get there. And I would really pay attention to that first week after their death because your pet will really want you to know that they're with you. You may not feel it all the way through your life, but at specific moments, you will feel them because it's as important for them to let you know that they're with you as it is to them. Okay. So they will make every effort to let you know that they're with you in spirit, that they have made it to heaven, they're here visiting you, and you can still call upon them whenever you want to. What if someone dies from overdoses? Yeah, okay. That's a good question. Because it's not technically suicide. It could be, you know, um, pain and suffering causing a careless action that ended up causing the death, right? So it's kind of like a gray area. I would say anything that resides in the gray area, somebody in the family or friend or professional, whichever way you want to do it, either get the book and do the crossing over technique for your loved one that had that experience, or of course you can hire a professional healer to do it for you. But it'll be anybody can learn how to do this. Um, a lot of people have had overdoses, and when somebody's really spiraling and they're really suffering emotionally and mentally, and they're over medicating, they're just trying to end the pain. They're having a hard time, and I think we need to probably look at a lot of the way we handle mental health, and handle this kind of depression and lostness that people are experiencing. um, And so I always say this, like when someone's really stuck in that, well, it comes to spiritual attack often, when someone's really suffering through depression, addiction, poverty, hopelessness, it's as if their light has been cut off. They're not getting the light into their body or into their light. That's a spiritual attack. It's a spiritual issue as much as it is a mental issue. And it's important that every individual learns that they can clear a spiritual attack, that they can get light in their body again, that their hope can be restored again, that they can actually shift the experiences that they're living with. But it's really important that everyone knows that they can, and also that they can identify that that's what's happening with them. So when someone starts to really go down and they're just not, they're feeling hopeless and cut off and they don't know what to do, the first thing I would advise would be to start to go into prayer, meditation, take saltwater baths, do a spiritual cleansing. You can burn sage, you can go to a healer, or you can do all of these things yourself. But I would recommend getting some sort of support to help shift your mindset, to raise your vibrations, to get more light into your body. And technically, it is more light. You're just opening up your crown chakra up here and letting more light in. This is your God light right here. This is where we fill up. So we want to make sure that these dimensions above us are clear. And if somebody is experiencing something dark, a lot of times those entities will lay on your head to block your light so you can't get into your body. So you want to make sure you're clear. Spiritual clearing is important. Get that light in your body, and it will start to improve every avenue of your life. You'll start to think different and feel different and feel more enthusiastic and more hopeful. So that is really, really important, that people recognize that that's what it is. So on an individual basis, if somebody's going through that, it's really important to do the healing work, to know that this can be shifted, to do the spiritual work. Um, and if you did lose loved ones with overdose, that's kind of gray area, if it was intentional or non-intentional. But essentially, it sounds like they're probably still in a dark space, so I would go ahead and do the healing for them. Do you provide the risks and proper instructions to use of the spirit boards? Yes. Thank you for that question. I personally, I always learned, well, no, I'll back it up. As a teenager, I was reckless. As a teenager, I used spirit boards very recklessly. And that's the way most people get involved with using spirit boards. And that's what creates hauntings. Okay. But when you're doing a spirit board, a Ouija board, intentionally, yes, I have the instructions on how to do it properly, to set your sacred space, to protect your space, to have your intention set on who you would like to connect with. And everything is guided for you and protected for you in that space. And then when you're done, how to close it down properly. Because once you open the door to the spirit world, you want to make sure that you're connecting with your intended loved one and then closing it down at the end of the session. And the more you do it in a trusted way, you kind of blend your energy with the board or any other device you're using for divining or spirit communication. Your energy begins to fuse with that device. I used to tell people this in paranormal investigations. Their cameras wouldn't work. They're like, oh, my cameras don't take spirit photos. And I said, well, use it for a little while longer. And then once it did start learning what what was required of it, and it began to blend with the person taking the photos, you couldn't stop it from taking spirit photos. So continue to use devices. It's your part of your intention is being infused in it. So never ever do anything if you have any fear. But if you have a true desire to connect with your loved one and you know that you're taking all the precautions, it's absolutely safe to use any kind of divining tool. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. Aw. Okay. My husband has passed away last December 19th. I'm so sorry for your loss. And been 7 months and still seen or connect with him. Okay. Okay, Donna. I'm so sorry for your loss. Yes. Well, this aside, I feel him with you. Okay, so I'll just say that because he just popped in quick. Um, but yeah, okay. So what we want to do, many times people have such heavy grief that their vibration is kind of clouding their receptors. Let's put it that way. So your ability to tune in with your husband, I really feel like a little meditation would help with you. And then you could just simply sit outside in a little area, like a little area where there's garden flowers or something, and just close your eyes and ask him to speak with you or come to you. Some people can hear audibly. I can often hear audibly spirits speak to me, but most of the time it will be channeled where it comes into you and you will just feel what they're saying to you. You may even feel their spirit walk up to you depending on your level of receptivity. But most of the time, when you're not feeling it, 7 months does not mean that he's not there. He's there. Okay. That's number one. He's there. Um, but your receptivity is a little bit blocked or dimmed down because of your grief. So the best ways to do that is to set the intention, know a couple things that you can do to try. And again, I have some ideas in here that you can do that can really help you to kind of get in that headspace of being open and receptive to it. um, and then also, maybe if you have any fear around the spirit world, you want to clear that. If you have any religious dogma, even if you don't, but if your family did, that could still impact you. Many people are genetically fearful of the spirit world because their heritage didn't allow it, or because they were ostracized in the past for having a medium in the family, or maybe even put to death in ancient times, you know? So we have genetic trauma about our gifts spiritually. And if you're feeling blocked, just know that it's not because your husband's not there. It's because you just need a little bit more calming around feeling safe to see him, hear him, feel him. You may want to just spend a little bit of time in meditation, inviting him in. You can always invite your own guardian angels to help and assist him so that you know for sure it's him coming in. And then using some of the divining tools in the proper way with respect. And you'll be able to start really opening up. One of the things I used to do, and this may help you, honey. One of the things I used to do when I was really missing a loved one is I would make a really strong sea salt bath. And you can do it any number of ways, but I would throw a lot of sea salt in there, like a cup of it, and maybe some rose petals, maybe some essential oils. I'd go in there and light a candle, and I would go into the bathtub, try to submerge, like, up to my neck, and then close my eyes and just invite them to come and speak with me. And there's a reason that this really helps, because the water is a conductor of energy. So anytime you can go into the water, it's going to help you connect with the spirit world even better. And when you're very specific about calling in only your loved one that you intend to speak with, you're going to find that this will help open that energy and help you guys connect much more easily. So that's what I'm being guided to help you with. I think that's really going to work for you. Okay. Okay. Oh, do you provide the risk? Oh, yep. Yes. Yes. All of that is in the book, are in the book, where it talks about how to properly use Ouija boards, divining tools, how to set up the sacred space, how to clear them, how to close them down. So the proper techniques are in this book. I I love it, and I think people should be a little more comfortable, with connecting with the afterlife, because there seems to be such a cloud surrounding it, and that's just based on old fears and dogma from ancient times. And if you use it with intention and thoughtfulness, and I always say sacred space. If I'm going to sit and talk to my loved one in heaven, I know it's going to be a sacred space. I'm going to intentionally block out all other things and just spend a few minutes with them, and then close it down and go about my day. So if you have that intention, you'll always remain in completely protected. Okay. How can I really know if my loved ones are near me besides the usual signs, finding feathers, pennies, cardinals? Great. Yeah, you're right. Those are some of the most common signs and symbols. Um, well, I guess it would depend. Okay, no, here I've got one for you. I was going to say it depends on how sensitive you are, because oftentimes, like, I'll actually feel them in my aura. I'll feel them come approach me, stand by me. I can hear them, sense them. But one of the best techniques I'm going to give you is the mediumship scrying technique. Um, because if you're getting all the signs and symbols and you just need your own proof, your own evidence, well, number one, I would say yes. You could also use the recorders to get EVPs. You could use your camera to capture pictures. But again, if you're just getting orbs, you're not certain maybe if it's your specific loved one, unless you get an actual face. And I have photographed actual faces of my loved ones that have passed. So that's possible. But also in the book, I talk about mediumship scrying, which is a technique I teach people to get their spiritual vision developed. Everybody can learn to do this. It's about raising your vibration with a focused intent, and it drops the spiritual veil. And I find that once you learn to see into the spiritual realm, you learn to see spirits, you will be able to connect with your loved one and have that firsthand experience. It's very different than going to a medium. And I am a medium, so I know that, right? But even when I was younger, I went to mediums because I didn't realize that's what my path was. So there's a different experience between going to a medium and getting information than there is having your own firsthand experience. And that's why I strongly encourage that. There's just a deeper level of connection and healing when you're able to implement this connection to your loved one on purpose, and you're able to connect with them and have your own firsthand spiritual experience with them. So that's one of my favorites. It's very, very easy to do, but it might take a little bit of practice. The first time I ever did mediumship scrying, it took me about 20 minutes, and it really popped open my spiritual vision. It just teaches you how to peer into the spiritual realm and what's necessary to get there. Kind of just like I said, raising your vibration, getting a focused intent, and being able to do it. I believe in my book, I talk about doing it with a partner, like sitting with a partner to do it, because it's very powerful to do it with another person to really, really raise the energy and the vibration. However, you can also do it with yourself by doing it in the mirror. Um, but I prefer doing it with a partner that you trust. So any friend or anybody that wants to sit with you that you trust, that's going to be really powerful and really help give you a breakthrough session where you can see your loved ones and really learn to see the spirit world. I've even taught people how to photograph a scrying session, and they're able to see spirits all around in the room when two people are scrying. So it's a very powerful technique and a very simple one to learn. Okay, do we have any more questions? Hi there. Okay. So if someone commits suicide due to poor mental health, due to lots of trauma, are they stuck here? Yeah. So Jerry, I don't like to say stuck, okay, but they would need healing. Yes. Um, Remember, time is different on the other side. So if our loved one dies and it's terrible for us because we think, oh my God, they're stuck, and it may be 10 years, 20, who knows how long, right? But time is different to them on the other side. They may experience it as 1 minute when it's been 20 years to us in real time, or physical time, I should say. Um, so the thought of that seems horrifying to us, but to them, it's time is completely different. It's just very, very now moment. So I would still do the healing, okay? But don't worry about them being stuck. Just go ahead, get the book, do the healing, and you're gonna feel an elevation. What happens when a loved one, I always say, if it's even questionable, if there's any iota, any part of you that goes, oh boy, I wonder if that one crossed over, like sometimes somebody's really angry or grumpy or troubled, and yes, mental health, they're already having difficulties. When somebody's suffering from mental health and trauma, they're already having problems um, spiritually with their energy in the physical realm. So when they die, it's not like it's all of a sudden lifted. People would like to think that, but we carry everything with us. So we do have opportunities to heal it after we pass. But again, it's by choice if we go into the light or if we stay. And many people that are stuck in that energy stay stuck in the energy because that's their mental process, because maybe they don't feel worthy and deserving of going to heaven, maybe they're afraid of judgment, maybe if they've been mistreated or abused, they may not love themselves enough to know that they have every right, divine right, to go to heaven, and they may stay earthbound because of that. So if there's any iota of anybody please learn this technique and cross them over. What will happen is their vibration will immediately raise. The second you do the technique, all the loved ones, their living loved ones that are connected to that person, will feel an uplift. They will feel that something in their own spirit has been healed when their loved one goes to the light. So it's a huge, huge healing. It's not just about the one that we may think is stuck, but their entire family and friends, everyone connected to their DNA, but also all of those that love them. If they're sensitive at all, they will feel it. But the DNA will definitely trigger everyone to feel better and more healed when the loved one crosses over. And also, you know, all the suicide deaths and all those that did not go to the light, there are many, many, and this lowers the vibration on earth and it holds people in a lower vibration and frequency. It's harder to heal, it's harder to ascend, it's harder to get to our next level. So when we go out there and we cross over one spirit, we cross over, we heal that one soul, We heal their family, we heal their friends, we elevate the energy on planet Earth, we make it easier for everyone else to improve their lives. We're keeping our vibrations high, we're staying healed, we're releasing and assisting the spirits that need our help. So it's a huge calling. It's not just the one soul. So if you're ever even in doubt, please do the technique, and you'll probably get some sort of confirmation afterwards, like a beautiful dream visit, or you'll see some kind of sign or symbol that will tell you that what you did was received, and that's a pretty beautiful feeling. So, okay, are there any more? Oh, here we go. Okay, gosh, you guys have a lot of questions. Thank you so much. Okay, can angels help us in healing from our past trauma or help improve our mental health? Absolutely, absolutely. Angels can help with all of that. Um, I'm just trying to think of how I want to bring this forward. So number one, we have to ask our angels to help us. We have to ask them in the morning. We also, if you're practicing gratitude, that really can help you. And this is not minimizing mental illness at all, but most of all mental illness will have been caused from some sort of trauma or break in the spirit from something very, very difficult that the individual went through. And it can also be inherited. If your parents or grandparents, someone in your family line had a massive trauma and they did not heal it, they could have literally passed it, that susceptibility, to you right in your DNA. So either the person suffering from mental illness is experiencing that or they've inherited it. So it's always going to be centered around healing. And we need to learn how to heal. We need to learn how to release our trauma and how to find enough love that we can actually rise above the pain that we've experienced. And so when somebody that's really struggling with mental health learns to meditate, learns the practice of gratitude, appreciation, and really learns to value themselves, their vibration starts to come up and they start to see things as more hopeful, and they start to create new neural pathways in their brain that help them reach for the higher functioning thoughts rather than the ones that have been self-destructive. And so it's a real shift in paradigm. When you start to implement healthy strategies, the mind will begin to heal. The mind always wants to heal. And one of the things I like to share with people, I also, by the way, have it in my book. It's funny how the information pops up. I share the Ho'oponopono prayer because it's such a profound prayer. It's an ancient Hawaiian prayer that specifically was used on mentally ill, okay, mental people, any kind of people having mental health, even with violent tendencies. And the doctor who used it in a mental ward would say it with his patients every day. He would just take their file and hold it to his chest as if it was he was one with them and they were one with him. So he didn't project it outside of himself. He just held their file and he would say the Ho'oponopono prayer for each of the people, each of the patients in the mental ward. And within quite a short distance of time, uh, everyone was better. Everyone went home functioning well. They had jobs. They were functioning with their family. They did not go back. And then the unit closed. So, and it's a great, I think it's Dr. Hugh Lin, and he has wonderful information on this technique, but it's just a very, very simple prayer. It's the ancient Hawaiian prayer, Ho'oponopono. And here's what it is: I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Those 4 phrases, write them down. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. You can say that to anybody you know. If you have loved ones suffering with mental health, you can take a picture of them or you can focus on them and say that for them every single day and see how they start to recover and heal from that. We've actually done some experiments on my own with some of the people that I work with, and we had a whole stack of um, I think we called them like some wounded angels, some women that had been through the mill. They had been pretty battered through life, through abusive husbands and health problems and poverty and all kinds of stuff. And so we would say that every single time we would get together, we would do the Ho'oponopono prayer. And within a matter of, oh gosh, sometimes weeks, but then sometimes months, everyone started improving. Their health started improving and they were getting better jobs, and either their relationship was getting better or they had enough self-love to leave a bad relationship. And it was absolutely amazing that we were seeing the light come back into everyone's life, that we were seeing them just be restored. And they had no knowledge that we were doing this prayer for them. So you can absolutely do this for yourself if you suffer with mental health. If anyone else you know and love suffers with mental health, you can do this for them every single day. And it is very, very powerful. It does not interfere with their free will. It helps to shift the causation of their mental health, of any issues they're having there. So that's I love that one so much. It's very powerful. It's like everything I'm saying today. It's like I keep saying it's very simple but very powerful. You guys, everything is really so simple. It really is, and accessible to all of us. And every time I teach, I like to make it really easy to learn and to be able to implement, because it's our divine right. It is our divine right to be able to heal and to be able to connect with spirit and to be able to move forward in life and create the life we want to. So just learning a few techniques can really help you with that. Okay. Okay. Yes. Oh, nice. So you have a beautiful memory garden. Good. Oh, you just made one. You know what, Donna? I was seeing a picture in my head of one, and that's why I said to sit in the little garden. I was seeing like a little sitting area, and it seemed like just a small, beautiful little space. So, okay, that's where you should go. That's absolutely perfect. Okay, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, you guys, I hope that my book will help. I hope my broadcast actually gave you everything that you needed today. If you want more information, please get the book. And you know what? Share it with somebody that you know and love. It will help you move all the way through the process and even through the healing process and in the after death communication, all of it. So, yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to be on the Minds Journal today. Okay. I don't know if there's any more questions, but I sure appreciate being able to connect with you all today. If you have any more information about me personally, you can always check me out at www.dianapalm.com. And I am doing beautiful heart healing retreats in Sedona called Let Go and Level Up. That's about really helping people shift. And I'm going to provide a lot of healing, spiritual healing, to let go of the pain and suffering and grief and move people into their next level of life. So be sure you check that out on my website at www.dianapalm.com. Yes, thank you.